And away we go. Alright, so let's see what me, Eric, or Risk have sent in the podcast group chat since the last time anything was done, really. And it looks like there hasn't been anything new since the last time I recorded anything. So, with that all being said, let's get right into the news. Kerry Combs named as victim of Houghton level crossing collision. On Thursday, Kerry Combs, 33, died after a train struck her car at a level crossing in Houghton, Chorley. An 8-year-old girl travelling in the vehicle remains in critical but stable condition in hospital. Lancashire County Council revealed Combs worked as a social worker, with Jackie Old, Executive Director of Education and Children's Services, describing her as a much valued member of their team. Following the launch of a criminal investigation, Detective Chief Inspector Paul Atwell described the incident as a shocking and tragic incident and urged the public not to speculate. In a statement released on Friday, the family of Combs said she was a loving daughter, sister, partner, and devoted mum who meant everything to us. They described her as having the biggest heart. Authorities urged anyone with information to text 61016 or call 0800 405040, quoting reference 152. Anonymous tips can also be submitted to Crime Stoppers by calling 0800 555 111. So sad. Rest in peace, Kerry Combs. I send my condolences to her friends and family. What on earth could have happened to the level crossing that could have happened to Kerry to have lost her life? And of course her daughter to be in critical condition. That's just all I'm wondering. And that's the only question I have. This isn't there isn't some kind of power struggle in any of this or any information that someone is made aware of that people should know. No, it's nothing like that. It's just a woman just living her life and continuing in her career with, I'm not sure if her profession was mentioned here. Otherwise, it's sad that it's unfortunate someone have lost their life after incidents with a transportation collision. And yeah, surely whoever is responsible for the signaling, the level crossings, there is a lesson to be learned from this, and whatever was the problem that caused her death in the first place, they will take note, and hopefully issues like this won't happen again. Anthropic accuses Alibaba of copying Claude by asking it millions of questions and set the stage for a new AI war. This again. Anthropic accused Alibaba of using nearly 25,000 fraudulent accounts to generate more than 28.8 million interactions with Claude, alleging the campaign aimed to extract proprietary information about its advanced capabilities. AI models inadvertently revealed obscure facts when questioned at massive scale through a technique known as model distillation. Anthropic claims that at this volume, conversations become reverse engineered, exposing how models behave. Comparing the process to asking an author 1 million questions about their life and thinking, Anthropic argues these responses accelerated Alibaba's development of competing systems without requiring access to underlying code. Anthropic asked lawmakers to combat this problem as soon as possible, citing similar allegations levied against DeepSeek, Moonshot AI, and Minimax earlier this year. OpenAI has also expressed concern about the technique. Whether Anthropic proves these allegations, the dispute suggests future AI battles may center on preventing rivals from learning model operations through conversation. Without protections, innovation incentives may decline in favor of copying. Well, I can't say I knew this was going to happen. Then again, I'm not surprised that companies working with AI would dare to go to such lengths like this to further develop their own AI models. And then at this point, and from that point on, this isn't about innovation, it's just trying to maintain relevancy within the AI space. Even when there's already enough people that have negative opinions on AI in general, whether it be the chances of these models having the capabilities to complete tasks in jobs that exist today, or even if the abilities of AI become so advanced to the point, at least in terms of content creation, they become so advanced, we may potentially mistake it for actual content, like it's in the real world, when it actually isn't. And even when people argue that AI has so much potential to point out errors in anything, provide answers to nuanced and complicated questions, as it stands now, AI is not at a state or stage in its development or thinking process where it could actually do anything and everything that we would ask it to do. And even if it can, the costs to run it, and to my surprise, is surprisingly higher than paying minimum wage to human workers. I've seen so many posts where it costs more to run AI models to do jobs that is expected to be done by humans than to pay minimum wage to human workers. At that point, you may as well keep the human workers. Why are you bringing AIs into this? Why are you using AI to automate all of your tasks? And in terms of Anthropic being the main target of Alibaba to scrape all of its processes to enhance their own model, I think that says more as of now. It says so much about how Anthropic is as a company running its AI models around the Claude brand. If Alibaba and other companies revolving AI are using Anthropic's Claude to enhance their own models, tells me that Anthropic, as of now, are doing a great job with Claude, and Claude as a general artificial intelligence is pretty good. It's not the best. Not to say it will replace everyone. I think we're a long way from that. Claude, as it stands out, Claude AI is at least the more capable and pragmatic of the AI models. Prediction market platform Polymarket tops $1 billion in annualized revenue. Polymarket announced to CNBC that annualized revenue exceeded $1 billion, a milestone reached shortly after the company expanded across to its US exchange. Revenue growth follows the exchange rollout 6 weeks ago, which lifted waitlist restrictions on the mobile app. and allowed customers to trade on the US platform. Data from Dune Analytics shows daily trading volume surged from around $50 million in mid-May to more than $200 million on June 20th, fueling rapid industry growth. The Department of Justice and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission dropped investigations into Polymarket in July, allowing the exchange to operate as a CFTC-regulated entity. Prediction markets are pushing to attract institutional investors and hedge funds beyond retail traders, with popular platforms including bets on outcomes like the FIFA World Cup. As not many people are going to be the biggest fans of prediction-based betting, congratulations to Polymarket for reaching such a milestone. It says so much about what the future of not just betting would look like. It also says about the future of journalism, given that people are betting money on what is going to happen in the real world, whether it be geopolitics, the outcomes of social events, and even the prices and even the valuations of cryptocurrencies. Yeah, this is more than Polymarket, Kalshi, and other prediction-based betting markets are more than just the future of betting. It is also the future of journalism. That's not to say that they will replace legacy media journalism. There is a prominent rise of prediction-based journalism through platforms like Polymarket and Kalshi. And that element is so valuable that even Polymarket and Kalshi's social media accounts on Instagram and Twitter, X, are even reporting on their bettings for these prediction bettings as if they were news stories, and then displaying the percentage and laying out the chances of in percentage, like what are the chances of this leader being impeached, the chances of that team winning the final of whatever championship they're competing in, and also the probability of who would be the next power couple on the newest hit reality show. I know that sounds stupid to think that you could bet on which hit new reality star is going to win hit new reality show. Yet it is possible if there is a demand for that, and such a prospect and an outcome is only going to continue growing, and it's not stopping anytime soon. So let's see what's next for the future of Polymarket, Kalshi, and other prediction betting markets. The question is, would Polymarket and Kalshi be allowed in other countries beyond the US? Because again, they are very prominent betting markets, betting on predictions on what is to happen in the future. So this is a definite grey area, if not a problem or legal issue for many countries. Jurisdictional laws. Greece integrates small satellites into firefighting system to spot wildfires. In May, Greece launched 4 satellites into orbit, becoming the first nation to integrate a dedicated array into its national firefighting system. Built by German company Aurora Tech, these thermal sensor-equipped devices help commanders locate and assess blazes in real time. Record-setting temperatures in 2024 and a devastating 2018 blaze forced Greece to overhaul wildfire response capabilities. Ioannis Latouris, head of Aurora Tech's Greece operations, told the Associated Press that models must adjust to fire changing in intensity and ferocity. Thermal sensors on the satellites flag new blazes as small as 13 feet wide, outperforming traditional systems that only spot fires the size of a cruise ship. This $227 million Europe-backed network helps fill coverage gaps in remote terrain. Real-time AI-processed satellite data helps commanders prioritize responses when multiple fires ignite simultaneously across Greece's 100 inhabited islands. By calculating size and intensity, the system allows the fire service call to allocate resources to the most dangerous blazes first. Planners in Athens envision applying this network to border surveillance, crop management, and identifying urban heat islands to target cooling centers. This strategic shift aims to achieve greater technological independence for Europe as it reduces reliance on foreign space infrastructure. Great. Brilliant work from Greece. Now I would ask, why isn't many countries doing this where wildfires are very common in their nations? And again, maybe this is the first time such technology has come into fruition and is being applied practically in the real world. And given its success, despite the high cost, if it works well, more so than intended, then at some point in the future, other countries like Australia, Mexico, Brazil, many countries in Africa, they will start to implement this technology at some point to prevent further damages to the surrounding environments. Well, I do wonder if the cost of 200 million euros would hold back other countries from implementing the same set of technology used by Greece. May not be a problem for countries with very big economies. Then again, countries with big economies don't say much other than saying, we have lots of money moving about. We're buying, we're spending, uh, there's generation of profits everywhere, somewhere in the nation. Well, we'll see. We'll find out if other countries implement this technology. Whether it be from Aurora Tech or maybe another company entirely with the same set of systems, for maybe a fraction of the cost. Older buildings and substandard construction left Venezuela vulnerable to earthquakes. On Wednesday, back-to-back earthquakes struck Venezuela, killing more than 900 people and injuring 4,300. The magnitude 7.2 and 7.5 tremors centered about 160 kilometers west of Caracas, leveled buildings across the country. The tremors, known as a doublet, occurred at a shallow 7.8 kilometers depth, which amplified seismic waves and compounded destruction. Caracas's location in a deep sedimentary basin further intensified the shaking. Engineering experts noted many collapsed buildings feature soft stories where open ground floors lacked reinforcement. This design combined with non-structural brick walls increased the risk of pancaking or floor-by-floor collapse. Initial assessments released on Friday estimated economic damage between 1 and 7% of Venezuela's $111 billion GDP. Microsoft's AI analysis found nearly 30,000 structures sustained damage in Katia La Mar. Reconstruction must include reviewing engineering standards, as some recently built structures failed despite compliance with current code. Unlike nations investing in seismic resilience infrastructure, Venezuela faces ongoing challenges enforcing modern building standards. Now, I'm not going to point fingers at the state of Venezuela's economy, the former president that was sanctioned by the US military in January this year. And I'm not going to get into the amount of untapped oil that Venezuela has, that the money generated from the refineries could have been used towards constructions of new quality infrastructure and buildings and whatever governments spend money on these days. I will say that I don't find this surprising. I'm not surprised in the slightest that the state of Venezuela's infrastructure, with its buildings, may not certainly be at the highest standards as other countries. Again, not because of its economy or whatever their last leader was doing during his last few years in charge. I can't think of any other way to justify the nation's reasons for not updating its code, setting higher standards for quality of buildings and other related nationwide infrastructure. And one more thing I will say, rest in peace to the thousands upon thousands of, or at least rest in peace to the 900 Venezuelans who have lost their lives since the earthquake has happened, unalived by the collapses of the buildings they were in or nearby. I send my condolences to all their friends and family. And for those who are injured, 4,300 of them, hopefully they recover and they can continue to live life in whatever is left of Venezuela. It's very unfortunate. Apple seeks approval to buy chips from blacklisted Chinese company, FT reports. Apple is lobbying the Trump administration for clearance to buy memory chips from Changxin Memory Technologies, CXMT, which the Pentagon blacklisted due to alleged connections to the People Liberation Army. On Thursday, Apple CEO Tim Cook raised MacBook prices, stating the company could no longer shield customers from soaring memory and storage chip costs driven by the data center build-out. Apple contacted the Commerce Department more than a month ago and is now targeting other officials across the administration and allies in Washington, per the Financial Times. Trade with firms on the Entity List requires US licenses that are likely to be denied, creating a regulatory barrier that complicates Apple's access to China's memory chip makers. Cook previously indicated interest in buying from Chinese manufacturers if approved, stating everything needs to be on the table regarding supply chain restrictions and national security rules. And just like that, another case of, well, we shouldn't buy from our rivals until moments like this get very desperate for companies in question that they don't have a choice. They have to buy from their rival because the technology in said country is somehow either at a higher quality than what they are producing, if not the only option available for the technology being produced. And whilst people will argue, and I know Risk 11, if he was on here, he will certainly say this with a fiery passion that the quality of Chinese technology is not as good. Uh, working conditions in China are subpar at worst, mediocre at best, and even though the technology in China is cheap, does not mean it's good. Yet, what I would say is, even if all of these claims are true, and somehow companies in the US, UK, Europe, or wherever are still going to China for anything technology related, what does that say about the state of technology in other countries? How is it that other nations are going to China for its chips, processors, literally anything? Of course, China for years have been a major trading partner with many countries around the world, yet I'm hearing a lot more arguments and criticisms about the state of China's products, the state of Chinese labor, as well as arguments about the quality of Chinese construction in the last few years. And again, even if any of the following are true, how is it that countries around the world are still turning to China for anything and everything that we can think of? Isn't it isn't isn't the projects or the products in their own country not good enough? Or maybe they are good, they're just too expensive. I know that. I know in Brazil there are products being produced that are of good quality, yet somehow Brazil somehow imports goods and services from other countries simply on the grounds of being somehow cheaper in costs to bring the imports over, as opposed to people buying products that were made within the country of Brazil. That's at least what I've heard from a YouTube video I've watched a while ago about the state of Brazil's economy, why is Brazil not growing at the rate that it's growing at, despite being a big economy. How is it not richer, not not as efficient, not as an efficient of economy as it should be, as other countries like China, the US, Russia, etc., and so on and so forth, other related aspects. So back to Apple seeking approval to buy chips from a Chinese company that's blacklisted. I've heard that Donald Trump is wanting to encourage domestic jobs. He wants to encourage more products that are sold to Americans to be made in America. Yet somehow, companies like Apple are still going to companies in China, despite the fact that the Pentagon and other federal government bodies prohibit any form of business negotiations with anything and anyone from mainland China. This is concerning. At this rate, I have speculation that at some point, maybe China could be the next big superpower, like the US has been for many years up until right now. Surely, I know Risk is going to say that China's horrible. China's not of the best quality for its products. They treat their labor workers horribly, he would say. And again, maybe he has a point there. Maybe Risk does make a point about the state of China. Even if that is true, like I've said already, the world goes on. Nations across the globe will still import products and services from China into their own countries to sell to their own people on the grounds that it is cheaper to buy from China than it is to actually produce products in their own countries. And that is it for the episode.